Hello, welcome to another episode of Where Have All the Men Gone? It's my co-host Burt, and apparently I'm Uncle Kyle.
Yes, good morning. Today we want to tackle on propaganda and its damaging effects on men, as the far left has tried to greatly diminish the strength and power of men and disable it, disarm it through propaganda. Mm-hmm. So part of my job this morning is I want to help educate people on what propaganda is, how it's done, how it's affected, and how easily the subconscious mind can be fucked with.
Right.
So we're actually going to do some of that today in the show and see if you can spot it. It's not likely you will. Professionals out there will go, yeah, I've got it. Like our mentor, I'm sure he will go, yep, well done.
Hope so. Hope so.
So propaganda is ultimately the manipulation of the subconscious mind through media, through radio, through music, through anything that you could possibly see or hear, manipulating you to get you to think a certain way.
Right.
In addition to that, it needs an enemy in order to get past the guards at the gate.
Right.
The guards at the gate, what I mean by that is your subconscious mind has this protective mechanism. And so in order to get past that protective mechanism, those guards at the gate, it's got to say and do certain things. And if it gives you an enemy, it's an easy thing to do. Yeah. So there's a manipulation of these people are bad, these people have cooties, and then if you act a certain way, you'll be safe. You'll be able to feed your family, you'll be able to live, you'll be able to keep granny safe. And we definitely saw some of that during COVID.
Yeah. Oh,
it was a massive propaganda campaign.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to hear what operation they called it, like Mockingbird or whatever the others they've used.
Yeah. And it's funny, you hear people talk about it and everyone seems to think that they would not be subject to it, or they wouldn't fall for it, they're too strong for it. They would be Schindler if they were in Nazi Germany, and we proved in COVID, nah, you fucking wouldn't. You'd follow right along with everyone else, because the majority of the population, the majority of people did, whether they were coerced, forced to, or propaganda. And we talked about propaganda before, and if you don't like the word propaganda and it puts up the red flags on you, it's sales pitch.
Ooh.
It is the ultimate sales pitch ever. Really, if you're doing sales copy, and people who do sales copy and advertising, that's propaganda. They are selling you on what it is. It is the best sales copy you can ever possibly have, because it provides an enemy, provides a scapegoat, and provides a way out. Right. That makes you, wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm just doing what's best for me.
Right. So one of the fastest ways to create propaganda is with authority. When it comes to the human condition, people follow along with authority. Authority above all else typically wins. I don't know of a case where authority won't win. And an easy example of that is a lab coat and a clipboard. And they've done experiments with this where they take a clipboard and a lab coat, and you could be walking around in public and simply get people to do things they wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
It's quite easy, and that person does not have to be qualified or quantified. Just a white lab coat.
We just associate.
And a clipboard, and you've associated authority.
Well, and a couple of examples with what we do, we have certifications to do some testing on some of our clients, where we do blood pressure testing, all that. So we have this stethoscope, this mammanometer, and we wrap it around our neck. And as soon as we do that, people are like, it's not a difficult fucking thing to do. Taking someone's blood pressure, it really,
it's pretty easy.
It's not a difficult thing to do, but people still have that, because of that authority figure. Another example, the boys and I, this is when they were a little bit younger, we were walking downtown, busy metropolitan Coburg, and the light was red, and they saw somebody cross against the light, so they wanted to go with it. And I stopped them. I said, no, we don't follow, we lead. We're our own men. We don't follow what other people do. And they're like, what? I said, you don't follow what they do. You are in charge of what you do. You do not copy. You take your own steps to be your own man, and we don't just follow because someone else is doing it. I don't know. I knew what I was doing at the time,
right?
But I don't think my
they may
my
not have
wife
understood.
didn't quite get it either. Like, why? I'm like, no. Right? Like,
that level of masculine authority is what is missing, and that's what's been taken. That's exactly what's been taken away by this scapegoat of this fictional authority. So when we look at COVID, we could look to Fauci. Well, Fauci said, well, when you look at his ties and how much his bank account increased after this, you can go, okay, well, maybe, just maybe. Now, I'm not an anti-vaxxer by any means. I believe if I've gotten a measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, I could go into any room and that's full of measles and not get measles. I could go into any room and not get mumps. I could go into any room and not get rubella if it's full of rubella. Now, you could have the argument, well, we've annihilated it because of this. It's like, well, if it's annihilated, why are we still injecting? And then the circle continues. So my point being is I was protected against it. Completely protected. I could have gone anywhere in this world and not had to worry if that was an outbreak. Why wasn't that the case with this was my question. So I asked a friend of mine who's a doctor, he's a medical doctor. I asked him, I said, what's the deal here? What's going on? How many injections do you need? Is it kind of like the hepatitis B vaccine, which I've had, where you get one and then 6 months later you get another dose? And he said, well, they're not quite sure yet. They're not sure how many you need. But I said, how can they claim it's safe and effective if they don't even know how it works then? He said, well, you're asking curious questions. I said, well, shouldn't they have been asked?
Yeah.
So until I have a clear understanding, I said, where's the peer-reviewed journals on this? He said, well, they're not released to the public. I said, I'm not putting anything in my body that's not peer-reviewed. If it is, why can't I read the documentation? So, because I know how propaganda works, I know how to manipulate the human condition, it's rather easy to do. And I'm seeing step-by-step approaches in front of my eyes. We've got authority figures, we've got repetition.
And we got fear.
And we have these, dramatic amount of fear. It's like, okay.
We have an enemy, we have a scapegoat.
Right. And I was one of the people who got COVID. I was one of the first who got it. It kicked the shit out of me. It knocked me on my ass for about a week. And so I was saying to him, why do I then need to be inoculated when I've had it? My body has the exact antibodies. He said, well, just in case. I said, okay, this has not been the case. If I got chicken pox before, I could go in a room full of people with chicken pox and not worry about it. In fact, we would encourage doing that to help you prevent the secondary round of chicken pox, which was called...
Oh, I don't remember.
What's chicken pox when it evolves?
Oh, shingles.
Shingles. So, we as people don't go around and have shingles anymore because you've exposed yourself to chicken pox repeatedly, which boosts your immune system to chicken pox and its variants. So that's what I did. I thought, well, I've had this, I'll expose myself to all the variants and it'll boost my immune system. And it did. So this propaganda, when I saw the step-by-step approach, and people are saying, you're crazy, you're a Trump supporter, you're a flat earther, and I thought,
that's the best.
These are the cute words. So when you look at propaganda and you look at how to manipulate the human condition, you go, okay, what words are they using consistently, and what enemy am I? So what did they call the Jews back in World War II, before World War II, with the pamphlets dropping by the airplanes? They called them dirty, and they had fleas and they had lice. No, I can't remember exactly what they did, but they made them out to be these dirty, terrible people. Yeah. Which was completely untrue. But, the government said so.
And then they made them wear a star to identify themselves. So they made them label themselves so everyone knew who they were. So they could, there's the enemy, let's stay away from the enemy because they're no good.
Right.
Right? So you knew who was no good when COVID was going on, because we weren't wearing fucking masks. Because we knew that masks didn't do shit. And so we're like, that's the enemy right there. And everyone gang up on people who weren't wearing masks. Look at those, they're not wearing masks, they're the enemy. They're the reason why this is still going on. They're the reason why the lockdowns are so long. They're the reason everything is in trouble. They had that scapegoat, and that was their gold star.
Yeah, it was a brilliant propagandist campaign. And maybe the world isn't ready to hear this yet. And
it never will be.
Yeah, so to help people to understand what propaganda is, it was a simple campaign, and it was a campaign in the past with Hitler and the Nazi regime.
Tons.
It's unknown. In fact, in Germany, they study it so that they can't happen again. And they have textbooks in high school, I believe it's grade 11, where they teach that propaganda, what's going on in the United States right now. The United States doesn't have those books.
Well, yeah, they don't at all.
So it's like, this is very curious.
But propaganda has been going on for forever.
And you mentioned that, and
Like,
I asked you, I thought, didn't it start with the Nazi regime?
No.
And you're like...
What about the Crusades? The Catholic Crusades, those Knights Templar going around and killing everyone in the name of Christ. That was propaganda.
How so?
You're not Christian. You must be evil and dirty and against us. So we have to get rid of you. It's all propaganda from way back. How do you get kings and queens and paying taxes and all this other stuff? It's propaganda. Oh, you want to be on this land and not have the neighboring hordes come and destroy your shit? Well, pay us taxes and we'll protect you, as opposed to protecting your own and taking care of your own stuff.
When you had said that, I didn't think of it from that perspective.
It's like I said, it's sales copy. Oh, you have what's going to help me? Here's my money. Right? They have an enemy. That person might come. They might not. They did 100 years ago. They might come again. So pay us money to make sure they don't come, and we'll build your wall. We'll protect you. We'll give you your mask. We'll give you your vaccine. Whatever it is we're giving you, but you'll give us your money for it so you can feel protected and safe. It's been going on for ever.
It's the beginning of the beginning.
Forever.
Right. Well, it sounds like what they did to create a campaign just like that when it came to the crucifixion too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating. So when it comes to men, what have they done? What propagandist campaign have they done to men to take away masculinity?
Well, they call it toxic.
Right, toxic masculinity. So anyone who stands strong and stable in knowing who they are and honoring who they are with masculine apparently has become toxic, according to the far left.
Yeah.
So what else have you noticed when it comes to current society and the demasculinization?
Well, what I've noticed I've seen a couple posts and people say things, and it's the majority of school teachers are women, mm-hmm. especially elementary, where we get their development as young girls and young boys. More single mother homes than ever in history. So 80% of the time, young men are being raised by women. Mm. So it's not toxic masculinity; it's lack of masculinity in their lives. Mm-hmm. So if the men are toxic, it's because the women have created them toxic, because that's their biggest influence with at school and at home. If they're spending 18 hours of their day, 16 hours a day around just women, where's the male influence? Where's the masculine influence? There's a lack of masculinity is what's toxic.
Yes.
So what's happening is, it's this. Women, you're fucking creating it. You're creating it. Mothers, you are creating it. Teachers, you are creating it by saying, oh, you can't do that. That's not what boys do. That's not how we do things. It is what boys do. Boys are full of fucking piss and vinegar and energy. And you're telling them, no, you can't do that. That's not how boys behave. That fucking is how boys behave. They need a fucking outlet.
Yeah.
Everyone's concerned of, women going through their hormonal changes from girls to becoming womanhood, and there's all these changes and having a hard time. Do you have any idea how much testosterone is surging through a 12, 13-year-old fucking boy? Mm. They could jerk off 13 times a day and still not be satisfied because there's so much going through them. Yeah. But no one cares. No one gives a shit that these boys are going through this great change, and because it's happening, they're bad. They're bad because it's happening.
I had a client this past week. She couldn't figure out, she was struggling with her family, and one of the struggles was she couldn't figure out why right after dinner her son wouldn't get up to help. Mm-hmm. And he used to always get up and help. He was always helpful, always a helpful boy. Mm-hmm. I said to her, did you ever consider that after we eat, we get an erection? Mm-hmm. And you insist.
Especially at that young age.
After you, yeah. And a lot of women right now, I'd be going, I did not know that. So there he is, and she's insisted, and she's yelling at him and berating him for this biological thing that's going on within him.
And now he's embarrassed by it.
Yeah. And so now you've just shamed the hell out of him. Imagine if we did that to a girl.
Yeah.
Oh,
hell. Every guy can relate. You're getting out of class. You untuck your shirt. You walk with your books in front of you. Every guy. You see a boy in the hall with his books in front of him when he's walking, he's got a boner. It's fucking, we're trying to hide, we don't have control, just like girls don't have control what's going on, but it's a bad thing because that happens to us. It's a natural hormonal thing that happens.
18 to 25 a day. Right, 18 to 25 erections a day while going through high school.
And we're vilified for that?
Yeah. Then we're told, well, it's not my fault. We're not blaming you. We're just explaining this is what happens if you do this.
It's no one's fault. It's just what it is. It just happens. Just like when a girl goes through her stuff. her hormonal shit. It's what happens to us.
Oh,
and we need to learn how to deal with it and not make people feel like shit because they have it. Or like, well, my son spends a lot of time in his room. Yeah, knock on the fucking door. I remember one of those things with my wife. I'm like, what are you doing? She just went to go into, I think our oldest was 13 or 14, and she just walked into his room. Now, thankfully, he wasn't doing anything, but I was like, what the hell are you doing? She's like, what? I said, you don't open their goddamn door. You knock and you wait 10 seconds. She's like, what? I said, oh my God, do you honestly have to be told why? Like, do you not get it? He's 13.
I don't think they understand. I don't think they see it.
Like
it's my little boy. I had to explain the same to my wife. I said, you can't just walk in anymore.
No.
She goes, what do you mean?
Yeah, there's not a little boy anymore.
You
don't want to see that.
Doing? She goes, I didn't even think of that. I said, I know, this is the challenge, what's going on. We've started to understand women and what they've gone through. We even took them out of class in what was it, grade 6, where they all go for their day. I had no clue what they were doing. They all came back and what'd you guys do? And they wouldn't tell us. Mm-hmm. So we've been doing this a long time, educating them. Mm-hmm. When's the boys' trip?
Yeah.
I just want to know. When do they take the boys and go, this is what happens?
It's because men just have to deal with the shit that comes into their life.
That's right.
That's just what it is. Deal with it.
Suck it up.
That's it. Deal with it. I actually had this conversation with clients this morning about countries that are mandatory drafting at 18 for 2 years, you get a mandatory 2 year, all this other stuff, and how the importance and what it does for young men, and gives them structure, gives them confidence, gives them a path, gives them something to move on when they're done and go. And she was like, our country, there's no way. If we went to war, we'd be screwed with the boys and the men that are here. And she was even, I know even my kids. And I said, yeah, whose fault is that? She's like, what? I said, it's yours. I said, if you loved your kids properly, they'd be strong enough to be able to take care of them. I love my kids. I said, no. You love your sons, but you have an expectation of them, don't you? She's like, well, yeah. I said, where's the expectation for the women? Once men, Chris Rock said it best, only women, children, or dog are loved unconditionally, right? So once a man hits 15, 16, and he starts to become a man and starts doing stuff, you have an expectation on your shoulders. What are you providing this family now? Mm. And we do it. I do it to my kids too. Boys, let's go. It's time to put up the garbage. Let's get the grass done. Come help me with this. It's what we do. It's the expectation of what we do. And we do it to our kids too, but it's for us to prepare them that this is our life. This is what's going to happen for us.
Yep.
But now their value is tied into that expectation of what they provide. And she said, yeah, my friend is like, oh, he's got this job. He does this. Our value is tied to what we can provide.
Yeah.
Right?
Do we ever talk about that with girls?
No, because their value isn't existing. Right?
Right.
Their value isn't existing. Now, I have no issue with that. I value women. You do what you want to do. I don't have any problem with that. But the issue herein lies is that men nowadays, they don't have the means mentally to deal with that shit.
Well, when they're surrounded by women for 18 hours of the day, or whatever the statistical number is, how do you get the influence of the sacred masculine? How does that masculine energy come through? And if it is, and I've met a few school teachers over the years of the grade school once with my kids. Mm-hmm. They're not hyper masculine men.
No, they're
grade school
not
teachers, so they're typically very soft spoken, pretty gentle. They're not hyper masculine men. So where's the example growing up? Mm-hmm. And then the propaganda component is fighting back isn't an option. That's the one that pisses me off the most. Is no, it's not an option, and if you do, you get detention too, or expelled for 3 days, or whatever the ruling is of that district at the time. And that is highly, highly dysfunctional. Because that takes, the government just says, you don't get to fight back no matter what we say.
That's right.
Because that's a government rule.
Yep.
In school, you don't get to fight back. And it's complete and utter bullshit.
They don't have it in private schools.
Oh, really?
They don't have it in private schools. You get in fights in private schools.
And what's the rule?
Well, most private schools you live there, what do they do? Kick you out? Can't really kick you out,
well,
can they?
I know they have an expel. I knew they do expel, but
if it's really drugs. Well, it's really, really bad. The expulsion, you have to go. But there's so much money for most big private schools and stuff like that.
Well, I'd be curious to find out what the truth is.
Well, they take care. Well, I ref and deal with it a lot, and they say they take care of the situation. They sit down, chat, and make sure the situation is okay. you know, you have to do extra work because, well, you can't not live there, right? You have to do extra work, community service around around at this particular school that I go to all the time, and it's what it is, right? Like there's no subjugating the situation. The situation gets dealt with and handled. Here,
each individual situation.
That's right. Here, it doesn't get handled.
No, it doesn't.
It just gets pushed aside and said, "Here's your punishment." Well, that doesn't handle fucking shit.
Yeah,
how does that handle anything?
I have a real problem with that because if I used to get picked on a lot, I was very tiny, and the only way to stop it was to fight back, and it's very difficult when you're trying to create healthy masculine, when you're saying you don't get to fight back, you just have to take it. Did you walk away? Did you use your words? It's like, well, yeah, we've obviously tried all of that. Most healthy masculine men do. It's like, look, I'm done putting up with your shit.
That's right.
What, you either do something about this or walk away, because this is not going to go how you think it's going to go. That's typically a masculine man. They don't want to get into it, but if you do, it's usually not going to go well, because the bully usually takes a punch and goes, cries and runs away.
Yeah. There's a great viral video, I think it was last year, whatever it was, with this big dude in a supermarket. He goes, "You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy." And I'm sitting there thinking, let's find out. The dude was just a big dude who was a fucking bully that no one's ever stood up to him again and tried to use his size and all the other stuff. And it went viral because everyone thought he was an idiot for saying, "You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy." Shut the fuck up, not that guy. Shut up. Fucking do something then if I'm not that guy.
Exactly.
Like, that is toxic fucking masculinity. That's fucking toxic. That's not masculine at all. That's just toxic trying to be a bully, do that kind of shit. Because I wish the video would have shown the other guy saying, "Well, I am that guy. Let's go figure it out."
Yeah, I think there would have been an interesting surprise. Would you say he was in a supermarket?
Yeah, in a supermarket somewhere. Yeah.
I think what most healthy masculine
grocery store, for some of you who don't know what a supermarket is.
Healthy masculine says, "Look, I don't know what's going on with you, but you need to walk away. I'm not dealing with this." And they walk away. They avoid it. They do. That's it. But if it's in your face, you don't walk away in that capacity.
No.
You don't walk away. You don't take a step back.
No.
Nothing. You hold your ground.
Yeah. You don't want to fight, but you understand that is a reality of what it could be.
That's on the table.
Right.
It's absolutely on the table.
Has to be on the table.
It's a last resort. I agree. Yeah. But it's on the table.
Yeah.
If you keep pushing me, there's going to be a response back.
Yeah.
And there needs to be.
Yeah.
Because look what happened with our government. No pushback, no response back, and the ones who did.
Yeah.
Good Lord, their propaganda went overboard for them.
Yeah, they got their bank accounts frozen, they got all this other stuff happen. It's like,
yeah, dysfunctional. Yeah. Highly dysfunctional for anyone that had a healthy mindset of masculinity, simply saying, this is supposed to be strong and free. We're in Canada. This is strong and free.
Yeah.
That's our national anthem. You know, and so we don't get to be strong anymore unless you say so.
Or free to make the decisions we want to make.
Regardless if you agree or disagree.
Yeah.
That's not the point. The point is freedom.
Yeah. And now they're oh my God, now they're saying they want to for people who have extra houses or use them as Airbnbs, they're trying to get rid of those to make you have to sell them or put extra taxes on them because we're having this housing shortage or crisis in this country. How the fuck can you tell me what to do with my house?
Yeah.
How is that? And we need these people to stand up. Like, I don't think they understand that the people with money in this country, like with money, they're gonna fucking leave. And when they leave, their jobs fucking leave with them.
Yeah.
Because who's gonna keep putting up? Every time I try to get ahead, you're gonna fucking cut me at my knees.
Yeah.
Cut me at my ankles.
Yeah.
Keep fucking trying to chop me down. They're going to take their money somewhere fucking else, take those jobs somewhere else, and leave.
Under this government, it has definitely switched from more of a socialistic mindset, technically not socialist, but certainly a socialistic mindset, to totalitarian. It's completely corrupt.
Yeah.
And no matter what you do to try to get ahead. And I think most people with an Airbnb are just trying to make some extra money because they can't afford life. And maybe they've rented out their basement or even a room just so they can pay groceries in this country.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're taking that advantage away from them because it's not right. Thinking, you guys, the whole reason we have no extra housing in this country is because there's a lack of masculine energy to stand up to the bullshit regime of this guy.
Yeah. There's not a lack of housing. There's not a lack of housing.
So whoever's listening to this worldwide, we do not have a lack of housing.
There's a lack of rental control. Because you can have someone in your house not pay rent for almost a year and a half. and then still stay. Because they can put an injunction on you at the end of it and be in your house for a couple of years. There's lots of empty houses. There's tons of empty houses because people don't want to deal with that shit. Yeah. They're just going to sit on their empty house, pay it themselves, and let the equity grow in it to when it's time and maybe give it to their kids or have them move in instead of dealing with the bullshit.
Of this government. It is absolutely.
We don't have a lack of housing. We have a lack of fucking responsibility.
Yeah. Which in turn is handed down the corruption.
That's right.
From this bullshit propagandist campaign of our government.
Yeah.
And that's what needs to be talked about.
I don't know if we spoke about it, but the dude in Argentina, the president of Argentina just took over. He is fucking rocking it. So Argentina had they had like a 25% inflationary rate when he took over. Their money was worth nothing. They were printing it, all this other stuff, the way you get inflation. He took over and said, no more printing. Cleared fucking house on government officials. Inflation is down to 2.5% in a fucking year.
Wow.
That he's been there. He took away rent control and made it rental control, meaning if you don't pay your rent, you're the fuck out of there. So same situation we have here. All those houses that were not lived in are now up for fucking rent because they can kick people out for not renting. The cost of renting in there has dropped 75%.
What?
75%, because there's an influx of all these houses, and now people want renters. Well, now we got to get them in there. They have to get the renters in there. So there's no houses, so it's going to be $4,000 a month. Nah, there's 10,000 fucking houses, so it's going to be
happening here.
So it's going to be $500 a fucking month, and they have to take it.
Isn't that a good example of masculine energy?
It's 100%.
Masculine energy coming in saying, we're fixing it.
That's right.
And that's how this is going to go.
Oh, it's been amazing. Like, I'll find the stats on this.
What does the society think? What do the Argentinians think of this? What's their view?
Well, 51% of them, before he stepped in, were in poverty. And in the year, I believe the number was dropped down to 47% in 1 year now out of poverty, and it's growing because the inflation has dropped down. People have places they can afford to rent.
That much poverty.
Yeah. So it literally was. There was no. I believe there's no middle class. It was you had money or you didn't have money, like in India, like
in Brazil or something.
And right, but he's like, no, everyone needs to be able to
an equal opportunity.
That's right, equal opportunity for everyone. And the rents have dropped. I was like, wow. But if you're sitting on a house that you can throw someone out if they don't pay rent, and they know. Well, now there's going to be a house to rent.
So that's a
big
big
shift. Now the price goes
from
it's massive. It was incredible. When I read that, I was like, holy shit.
To equal opportunity.
That's right.
And that's the massive masculine shift.
Equal opportunity. Everyone's got the shot now. Everyone's got a crack at it if you put it in.
Right.
Yeah.
If you put in the time and effort, you can succeed too.
Yeah.
And I think that's what most people want. But
I don't think so. Well, some.
My kids are now, one of them's done their master's, the other one's in their master's, and they're looking at the market going, I'm never going to own a house here. How am I going to do this?
Yeah.
So let's pray for better government.
Well, the government's not going to do it. You got to figure out your own way. We can't depend on the government. We know we can't depend on the government.
Well, in this country,
we got to figure out our own way to make sure they're successful. And there are ways, and I've chatted with you about. We're not going to get into it here. I mean, we can, but that'll be another. That's a whole man. When I figure this out, it's a game changer. It takes about 20 some odd years, 25 years, but it is a absolute game changer and the only people who know about it are the rich fucking people. And it's just an insurance policy.
Well, it's go into that.
That's a different. And I'm just learning about it now. Fuck, if I'd known about this years ago, and I'm just learning about it now. So, for it to benefit me, is not what necessarily I'm looking for. It's more to make sure my kids and my grandkids
and then that
process. That's right. Continues. Just to start them on there to get them going. But
so how do we get this?
But we have to figure it out on our own.
So how do we get the message through to people what propaganda is? How to make sure you're making note of it. So we worked on a bit of a script before we started today, and we're going to show you basically what happens, as I promised you we would do, when it comes to mind control and propaganda and how we remove the guards at the gate. So basically what happens is when you want to do it really quick and you don't have authority to the level of a true white lab coat and a stethoscope, and you don't have the power of the media and repetition, one of the ways you do it is what's called a confusion statement. You quickly create a confusion statement, and this is, it's shocking how many people don't even realize I'll know when my confusion statement's been successful because they just nod.
A little glaze and a...
Yeah, they're mildly glazed over, and I get a nod.
Yeah.
And that's it. I've got the guards at the gate removed. I can implant whatever message I want. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that right now. So you're going to go with the confusion statement.
Oh, no, I don't. It's not ready. I don't want to mess it up. You've got some set. The one, I like the one I have, but I still have to tweak it to make sure it's a little more powerful. But yeah, it literally, when you're doing a confusion statement and you'll hear it, it won't, you have no idea that it's a confusion statement because it must be stated as if when the person who's saying it, you believe what you're saying to be 100% true. There's no doubt in your mind that what you're saying makes complete sense. So then the person listening to it, even though it's jibber jabber, they like, oh yeah.
So yeah, what I guess someone is saying is, I can tell you I'm going to do this to you, I can show you how you do it, and it'll still work.
Yeah.
It'll still work on you.
Yeah.
Every single person. Unless you completely understand this and know how to defend against it.
Yeah.
So, here we go. Okay. So, we all have love. Love is something that we know that exists in this world. Would you agree? Right? So, I want you to understand that love sometimes can exist, but when it doesn't, you come back here now with me, and you truly feel what's happening within you. And when it isn't, it doesn't even matter. There you go. So now, trust your gut. Trust your gut in what I'm saying. Your gut has this voice. And trusting this voice, now with me, is one of the wisest things you can do. So, that's a confusion statement right in there.
That, and there was also a bunch of other things in there too.
I did a bunch of other things in there.
There's a bunch of other things in there too. And it's funny, when we were first practicing this, and we have our coach and our mentor, Chase, who's probably the best at it in the world.
He wrote the book.
He literally wrote the book
for the CIA.
Like literally. When we say literally wrote the book,
you should see this manual.
He literally wrote the book on nonviolent interrogation on terrorists and all that other stuff. Like,
yeah. You've heard of the periodic table of elements? Well, we have a periodic table of human behavior. Yeah. You should see this thing. It is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And he studied it is...
he stacked a bunch in there. And it's funny, when we were first practicing this stuff, I would see him. I'd always giggle. Oh, every time, because I'd see him doing it, and I know he's doing it, so I'm pointing it out to someone else. Watch now, and I'm giggling, and then it's so powerful. It's like when you stop giggling, you can really help people.
Yeah. So what I do is first of all, I always get permission. I don't manipulate people without permission. That's not my goal.
No.
My goal was to learn. Yeah. My goal was to learn how do you corrupt the human condition. So I hired Chase Hughes to help me to understand how can you corrupt the human condition? How can you easily manipulate it? And then once I knew how to create schizophrenia, how do you create bipolar disorder? How do you create these things, which may shock people to hear that you can create that right now, is my job then was how do I reverse engineer it so that when I'm helping people, I can say, okay, this has happened to you. Yeah. I know how to reverse engineer this. And it doesn't take long. You don't need to be in counseling sessions forever. So I'm not a therapist. Right. I'm a human behavior specialist, and I help people reverse engineer this stuff. It's like, so you just understand what's happened, how it's happened, and reverse it.
It's so I liken it to when you reverse engineer something to change a tire. So when you change a tire, you know what you have to do. So you got to take the nut, you got to jack it up, got to take the nuts off. Well, then how do I do it? Well, and then take the tire off. We'll have to put the tire on, got to put the nuts back on, and I got to drop it down. So if we know how to create it step by step, then we just basically take the steps backwards to unfucking create it.
Unfuck it.
That's right.
Someone said to me, one of my younger clients, she said, so you're unfucking it. She's quite funny. And I said, in essence, to use those terms. Yeah. So it's technically it's reverse engineering whatever transpired to you, whether that be from someone intentionally doing it, from corruption, from really yucky stuff, to whatever. There is a way to reverse engineer it through understanding human behavior, understanding propaganda, because sometimes that's what's happened. I had a client come in last week, was just annihilated with propaganda, and how you reverse that. And understanding it is the first step to go, okay. So I've used that on you today to help you to understand that there's a way to change it. Yeah. So that was my goal. There's been no manipulation other than to trust that you can change these things that you've been hearing. Yeah. And to be pointed out.
If you want to.
Yeah, most. Do you have the courage? How it comes back to masculine.
That's right.
Do you have the courage
to change?
Do you have the courage to challenge your beliefs?
That's right.
If you don't have the courage to challenge your beliefs, you are a very weak human being.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound nice, but that's the truth.
And then we can go back to the socialism we talked earlier. Said who actually believes socialism is a good thing? Right? Who actually believes socialism is a good thing?
Well, I think majority of people, when you take a group of women, that's kind of their mindset.
Well,
they socially gather, they socially help, and so that's typically a sacred feminine energy, not necessarily socialism, but yeah, it's typically a feminine.
Well, it's the people who are going to take advantage of it.
Right.
Those are the ones who want socialism, the ones who are going to take advantage of it.
True.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because then you can control people.
That's right.
Because they depend on you.
That's right. And when you depend on someone,
what was it you said about socialism in the classroom? There was the teacher said something about the test scores or something. What was that?
That was the economics. The economics professor was talking about capitalism, socialism, communism, all that other stuff, and all the young kids. Socialism's a good thing. Socialism's a good thing. She goes, well, we'll rate this class and be a socialist. So they did their first test. The smart kids studied hard, like they always do, and got their 80s and 90s. Then the next level got their 70s and 60s, and the other ones got their 40s and 50s. And she averaged the mark, and everyone got like a 75. Where the kids that worked hard, what do you mean he got a 75? Yeah, but he got a 75 too. The guy who did nothing got a 75 as well, because we're socialists. So the next test came around. The kids that did all the hard studying, got the good grades the first time, didn't study as hard. Grades weren't as good. The kids that did the little study and got mid-class grades barely studied and got their grade. And the kids that did nothing did even fucking less and got even a worse grade. And then the average was like 74, dropped down to 60-something. So then everyone had a 60. And she's like, do you guys still think socialism is a good thing? So now the people who worked their ass off are fucking pissed. Because now they're getting a shitty fucking grade because these people below aren't doing a fucking thing and they have to carry them with their hard work to keep everyone's grade up. Because then that affects them going into the next thing, going into the next class, going into their future, going to everything else.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen that growing up firsthand. We grew up on the way other side of the tracks. And we knew when those welfare checks were coming in because everyone was waiting for the mailman that one day at the mailbox.
Yeah.
The only time I'd see everyone gather around that mailbox at the apartment.
Yeah.
And I knew where they were all going next.
Yeah.
It wasn't to go make sure their kids had food and medicine. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
And it was month after month, the same people,
mm-hmm.
month after month, year after year. And I looked at it and said, this is never going to be me.
Yeah, I depended on social assistance for 2 months. I had a terrible accident. I was playing rugby and doing stuff in Australia. I had a terrible accident. Couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. My sister let me stay with her for a few months while my leg healed. Like it was pretty bad. I was pretty laid up. And I told them at the social assistance at the welfare office, I said, I need 3 months. I just need 3 months. That's it. I don't want any more than 3 months. I just need 3 months to get myself going, to be able to get going so that when I can actually walk and do stuff, I can go get a job, go do my stuff and get back on things. Mm-hmm. And it was fucking 3 months. And it fucking ate me alive to fucking cash those checks. Mm-hmm. It did not feel good. It did not feel... It was horrible. You need to... So there's this guy that I follow. I sent you some stuff, Myron. He preaches. He's a great businessman. He's a little Jesus-y for me, but that's okay. His message is awesome. And one of the messages he says is you need to hate poverty. You need to hate poverty. And I think the way we grew up and now we're older and having is like, I don't want anybody to be in poverty. I hate poverty, but it's not his job or your job or someone else's job to get me out of poverty.
Right.
It's my job to do it. So you have to have the courage to, something is wrong. It needs to be changed. Mm-hmm. Right? Just like with the propaganda, you need to have the courage. You need to have that courage to stand up and say, I need to make a change. Something's not right.
Right. So having a system that assists you in getting back on your feet as opposed to enabling you.
That's right.
So that sounds like a very healthy masculine thing to do because, if your next door neighbor 200 years ago had broken ribs or something like that and couldn't do his hay or feed his cat, you'd go over and you'd help him.
That's right.
Until he was better.
That's right.
Then he didn't want you to help him anymore. No. He was embarrassed that he needed help in the first place, probably.
But then it came back to you. You got kicked by the horse. You're off for a week. He's helping you get that work done, right?
Yeah.
That's That's socialism. That's the socialism that works, is helping your fellow out until they're back on their feet.
And instinctively, we all want to help.
Yeah.
I was, not all that long ago, there's always someone begging for change at this one particular location, not too far from where I live. It's a busy intersection and there's a long stop, so there's an opportunity to get a coin. And one time I saw a guy handing out resumes, and he had a sign. He says, "I don't want your money, I need a job." And he was handing out resumes.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw him again.
Mm-hmm. People want to help people who want to help themselves.
Yeah. And that is a very healthy masculine thing to teach.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is lost right now.
I think so too.
I really do.
I think so too. And I think it's to the point where the parents and the instructors and stuff, I don't think they know how. I don't think they know how to teach it. I don't think they know how to bring it back, which is why...
Are they even allowed?
We're here, which is why we've started Where Have All the Men Gone? Because
Mm-hmm.
we need them back. We need them back. In 20, 30 years, we're physically not going to be able to do the fighting back. And we need people to stand up for us, and we don't have them, and we need them.
Well, that's an interesting thing, because where does that all come from? How does that stem? How do we change it? And I think it's more podcasts like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's more masculine men saying, "Hold on a second here. We've had enough of your shit. This isn't what we're going to take anymore, and we're going to stand up against it."
Mm-hmm.
We need more of a leader like the Argentinian leader
Mm-hmm.
coming up and saying, "Look, there's a way to fix this. I know how to fix this. I'm proficient at it. Let me show you." And then he does it. And it's a betterment of the country.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure his ratings must have improved too with everyone.
I got to imagine. Now, we don't know long-term when that comes in thing, because it's, kind of a dictatory, and long-term dictator generally doesn't pound out too good, but we don't know with this guy, because he's only literally been in there for a year.
But he was voted in.
Yeah, he was put in.
This is right when they were flooding the streets and protests.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we've had enough.
It was bad. Yeah.
Like there was millions in the streets.
Yeah.
Much like there was here, and they didn't put it on the news.
Yeah.
So I wonder if their media denied it. That's another thing that's gone on with propaganda that I wanted to make sure we touched on today, was you won't see it on the news here. Our media is controlled by our government.
That's right.
Our liberal government is controlling the media.
And
there is no opposition to challenge it.
They have this social media ban on any news things that come from Canada. No news feeds can come into Canada. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, anything. And the government, and here's their ploy, and here's what they say to try to get people on their side. Here's their propaganda. Well, they don't get paid enough for when they do it. They're just getting all their sources out to someone else, not getting any money for
Free
it.
advertising.
They need to be, that's right, they need to be financially rewarded for it.
Our country needs to be financially rewarded.
The news
if we're
agencies
going to allow that in.
That's right. And that's a propaganda. So they're trying to make it seem like, oh, these poor newspapers, they can't get money, they're not doing it, and that's why they're doing it. They're standing up for it. No, they're not. They're stopping fucking news. They're stopping news.
Exactly
If I have something I want to share, that's up to fucking me. If I'm a news station and I'm writing something and I have something to share, then I'm going to share it because I'm going to share it because it's news. Whether money comes from it or not, that's on me.
That's right.
That's on me. This is why it's fucking capitalistic. I create my wealth. I don't depend on the other shit.
Right. Ethical capitalism.
That's right.
As opposed to dysfunctional and corrupt capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
So what I think was challenged here is anytime I go to speak to someone about the propaganda that's happened is, number one, they don't understand propaganda.
They don't.
They're confused and sometimes think I'm crazy
Yeah.
until I prove it to them.
Boy, oh boy.
Until I prove to them exactly what's going on. And then I'll show them feeds that I have that they don't get to see.
Yeah.
So
And they still have a hard time.
And then they still go, this can't be true.
Yeah.
So it's very true. It's very true what's going on in this country. It is incredibly corrupt. And it amazes me to this day how highly educated people are blinded so simply. And it takes a lot for me to, even my close friends, to go, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And they don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe an institution that they bought into,
That's right.
paid into, would do that. But here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a good point to
Absolutely.
wrap up the show today. So I hope that one section, at least if you got nothing else, please understand propaganda is live and well, and it is a manipulative machine to get its own result and its own agenda. So do your best to see it when you see repetition amongst channels, when you see authority figures. Challenge your beliefs. It takes a tremendous amount of courage.
It does.
And I applaud you for it.
Yes. And thank you for watching and listening, and look forward to our next episode on Where Have All the Men Gone?